Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're getting spooky. Ooh. Let's take a look at the 10 scariest Little Nightmares villains. For this list, we'll be looking at all the current Little Nightmares games to work out which of these disgusting, horrific, monstrous, feral, creepy, did I say disgusting, monsters are the scariest. Are you excited for Little Nightmares 3? Let us know in the comments below. Before we continue, we publish content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of our latest videos. The Shoe Monster. Little Nightmares is reminiscent of a John Carpenter film or a David Cronenberg masterpiece. The use of body horror to make the monsters as off-putting as possible is often what enhances the scare factor of these villains. But sometimes not knowing is almost more scary. In Little Nightmares 1, there is a room of discarded shoes. The shoe volume is so immense it almost creates a lake of leather and laces that the player must cross. Underneath the surface of this shoe lake lives the Shoe Monster, who chases the player as they move through its habitat. Its location only visible with shoes being tossed and moved while it approaches the player faster than they can drudge. You never see the monster, but if you're caught, it pulls you under the shoes and does God knows what to you. Well, I mean, it kills you, I know that much. Wait, am I God? The Shadow Kids. The Secrets of the Moor DLC was not spared of awesome moments, great story, and terrifying villains. The Shadow Kids are found in the ladies' quarters in this DLC and present as simple to kill annoyances. What makes them terrifying is that they hide in darkness, and if you aren't paying attention, they can be difficult to spot. As the guardians of the ladies' quarters, we knew they were going to be awful to deal with, and if the player isn't quick enough eliminating these guys, they can very quickly and very easily overwhelm us. Yucko. The Viewers. Mind control is a terrifying concept. In Little Nightmares 2, the viewers appear to be regular humans who have had their faces deformed and mutated by the signals of the televisions that they cannot turn away from. Without a television, they become incredibly agitated and violent and will hunt the player like fast-moving zombies until a television distracts them. Their aggression towards the player is something straight out of a nightmare, but what makes them extra unsettling is the way that they will seek out the nearest TV by any means necessary, sometimes even walking straight off buildings to their own deaths. I hate to repeat myself, but yucko! The Doctor. One of the most memorable villains from Little Nightmares 2 was the Doctor. The image of the Doctor performing unknown surgery behind a screen is one that will not leave our minds anytime soon. The Doctor is a large man, but even at his size, he's able to crawl efficiently around the ceiling as his main form of travel. His sheer weight makes whatever room he's in creak and crack, always leaving the player wondering if the roof is going to come crashing down on them. His unnatural form of movement, his grotesque appearance, and his bloodthirsty pursuit of the player makes him one of the most terrifying villains in the whole game. Twin Chefs. Yuck! Ew! Gross! Go away! The Twin Chefs from Little Nightmares 1 came early in the experience and really set the series off right. As a pair, they already seem creepy from the get-go as they prepare meals using human flesh. Their grotesque appearance and horrifying faces accompany their already gross behavior. But as time goes on, you get to hear their awful, awful screams, which are muffled and unsettling, highlighting the worst detail of these terrifying villains. Their faces aren't actually attached. Yucko! There is conjecture online as to whether they are wearing someone else's face or their own face is rotting off and peeling. But either way, we can all agree they are no bueno. The patience. Remember the doctor's awful surgeries? Remember how upsetting they were to listen to and see? Well, what if those creations started chasing you around? Introducing the patients. The patients are the diabolical creations of the Doctor, which appear to be the result of unfinished surgeries with their missing body parts and dodgily assembled prosthetic limbs. When still, they appear and act like mannequins, but when the player isn't looking directly at them with their torch, they charge and move towards us with a wild amount of speed, and their pain-squeaking limbs accompanying their pursuit. The patients are clearly the result of a healthcare system gone wrong. Wait, no, I've got a better joke. The patients thought their surgery would be cheap. Turns out it cost an arm and a leg. Nailed it. The lady. Sometimes it's the most normal looking villains that provide the biggest scares. The lady from Little Nightmares appears physically like a geisha, and although she has a somewhat disfigured face under her mask, it isn't comparable to the faces of the other villains we've seen throughout the game. Her scares come from her unsettling way of moving, her end boss threatening aura, and her constant and unending use of jump scares. I mean, seriously, her popping out of the shadows to try and get a bite out of me was one of the worst days of my life. The Janitor. The Janitor is the beginning of the process in Little Nightmares. He is kind of the beginning of the nightmare as the villain tasked with grabbing and capturing children to either be enslaved or prepared as food. His horrifying appearance begins with his rotting skin which droops over his eyes, making him completely blind. As step one of this child capturing process, you'd think a blind guy would be a bad business decision, but the Janitor also has the best nose and the longest, creepiest arms in the kid capturing market, so he's worth every cent of whatever they're paying him. Not only does his appearance make him one of the scariest villains in Little Nightmares visually, but it makes him one of the scariest villains in horror gaming history. Yucko again. The teacher. The teacher from Little Nightmares 2 is such a chilling character that you only need to see her visually to understand the horror that is her whole vibe. Towering over the protagonist, she is a nightmarish amalgamation of a teacher and a giant insect. Her elongated neck and eerie mask conceal her true face, adding to the unsettling ambience. Players must stealthily navigate her classroom, avoiding her watchful gaze and carefully timed patrols, making her a formidable and anxiety-inducing antagonist in this entry's nightmarish world. Even when the player thinks they've escaped her, her Mrs. Incredible-esque neck chases you down with her head coming in for the kill. No thank you, I'm dropping out of school. The Thin Man. Much like the lady, the Thin Man is scary not just because of his appearance, which we'll talk about in a second, but because he is actually a threat. His power and presence is intense as the main antagonist of the second entry. He can teleport, making him almost impossible to escape, and his main goal? You guessed it, kidnapping children. His tall and slender appearance is reminiscent of Slender Man, and his slow pursuit of the player makes you extra unsettled as he doesn't seem to need to try very hard to capture you. As one of the only villains with a normal face, you wouldn't think he could match the intensity of the other monsters we encounter, but he does. And to that, I only have one thing to say. Yucko! Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.